All right, everyone, get ready, because today we're going deep on Bitcoin. But not just, Bitcoin in general. We're going to be focusing on how to actually use it without needing a bank or any of those traditional financial institutions. You guys sent in this amazing presentation by a real Bitcoin expert. And honestly, some of this stuff is pretty mind-blowing, even for me.
It really is fascinating stuff.
Yeah, I mean, get ready to rethink some things because we're going to figure out how to use Bitcoin independently and what that means, not just for our own wallets, but for, the whole world of money.
Yeah, for so long, Bitcoin has had this reputation, right? Oh, it's this super mysterious investment, something only, computer geniuses and Wall Street people really understood. But this expert, I think they're really trying to change that narrative.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because they're talking about Bitcoin as an actual everyday currency. Think about it. Buying your groceries with Bitcoin, paying your bills, sending money to, someone in another country, all without needing a bank at all.
Okay, now that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. But before we get into the nuts and bolts of how to actually do all that, I think we need to take a step back.
Sure.
And really understand why anyone would even want to ditch banks in the first place. I mean, let's be honest, banks are pretty convenient most of the time.
Most of the time, yeah, you're right.
But this presentation brought up honestly, some kind of scary situations where that convenience just vanished.
Yeah, they highlighted that thing in Canada with the trucker protests, and all the people who were just supporting that cause suddenly had their bank accounts frozen.
That was wild.
It's wild, right? And it goes even beyond that, too. Think about, all the people who don't even have access to traditional banking in the first place.
Right.
They can't get a bank account, so what are they supposed to do? So, I mean, this expert is making the argument that relying on these big institutions, it just makes us vulnerable. They can decide, oh, you can't use your money anymore.
Scary, yeah.
Or they can just take it away. So suddenly, Bitcoin's promise of true financial freedom, no one can touch your money, that starts to sound a lot more appealing.
Yeah, no kidding. It really gets you thinking about who really controls your money when you put it in a bank.
Absolutely.
Right? So let's get into it. How does Bitcoin solve this? I thought it was really interesting. The expert compared Bitcoin to the internet. What's that all about?
It's a really good analogy, I think, because, think back to the really early days of the internet.
Right.
Back when companies and even, governments were all trying to make their own versions of it.
Right. Like these walled gardens, almost.
Totally. And it was this crazy Wild West, right? All these competing protocols. But I think ultimately the internet, the reason it became so successful is because it became open and decentralized. No one owns it.
Right.
And so this expert is arguing that Bitcoin is kind of on that same trajectory. It's trying to be this one single global standard for digital money that no one person or company or government controls.
So instead of having a central authority, like the Federal Reserve or Bank of America calling all the shots, Bitcoin is governed by
its users.
Okay, so that leads us to another thing I thought was really interesting in the presentation, this whole idea of Bitcoin's scarcity.
Right.
Explain that a little bit, because it's pretty different from how we think about, traditional money.
Totally different. So, the presentation explains that Bitcoin is intentionally designed to have a limited supply. There's only ever going to be a certain amount of Bitcoin. And that's very unlike traditional currencies, which governments can just, print more of whenever they want.
Oh, yeah. They just turn on the printing presses and suddenly there's more money.
Exactly. Which, devalues your existing money. And so that's where this whole idea of Bitcoin being digital gold comes from. Gold, there's only a certain amount of it on Earth.
Right. It's a finite resource.
So Bitcoin's trying to replicate that in the digital world. And this expert thinks that that's a huge part of why people see Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation. Think about how gold has held its value over centuries because it's scarce. So Bitcoin is trying to be the digital version of that, a way to protect yourself from, the ups and downs of currencies that are always being printed.
Okay, so just to recap, Bitcoin is decentralized, meaning it's controlled by its users, it's scarce, which theoretically at least could help it hold its value over time. But how does it actually work in the real world? Governments and big banks, they have a lot of power.
Yeah.
How does it resist control from those big entities? I imagine they're not super thrilled about this whole thing.
You're right. There's definitely some tension there. I mean, they want to stay in control, but the presentation gave this really cool example of how resilient Bitcoin is, and it's called the block size wars. So remember how we were talking about Bitcoin being controlled by its users, not one company? Well, the block size wars, that was like a real world test of that.
Oh, wow.
Some pretty powerful people were trying to change Bitcoin's rules. They wanted to change how much data could fit in each block on the Bitcoin blockchain. And it became this big fight. But in the end, the Bitcoin community, like the everyday users, they pushed back.
Really?
And they kept it decentralized. They wouldn't let these powerful people change it.
Wow. So even this like coordinated effort to like mess with Bitcoin's code, it failed.
Totally failed because the users said no.
That's amazing. That says a lot about, how strong this decentralized structure really is. So where does all of this lead? I mean, we've talked about a lot, like what does the future hold for Bitcoin?
Well, that's where things get really interesting because this expert starts to paint a picture of a world where Bitcoin isn't just some like niche thing, right? It's this major force that's shaping like global politics and like everyday people's lives.
Ooh, okay, I'm on the edge of my seat here. Tell me more.
Well, we'll get into that in the next segment.
All right, perfect. We'll be right back after a quick break. Don't go anywhere.
So this expert, they kind of lay out this almost like Cold War scenario, but instead of it being, like capitalism versus communism, it's all about countries and where they stand on Bitcoin.
Right.
Like some countries embrace it and some try to fight it. Can you imagine that? Like whole alliances form based on whether you're pro-Bitcoin or not?
That's a pretty wild thought. Like Bitcoin actually becomes this big global power play.
Yeah.
So what does that mean for me, for regular people?
Well, according to this expert, it could mean a lot. Like Bitcoin could give individuals more power than we can even imagine right now.
Interesting.
And it's not just about protecting your savings from inflation, which is definitely a big part of it, but it's also about like having access to a whole financial system that no one can just, shut you out of. Like think about it. You could like support causes that maybe banks don't like or fund projects without, someone at the bank saying, no, we don't approve. You could even participate in like whole new economies that are built on Bitcoin.
Whoa.
It's like a whole new world of possibilities opens up.
Okay. That is powerful stuff. But I mean, no technology is perfect, right? Like there's got to be some downsides, some risks to using Bitcoin this way.
Right. And the presentation does talk about a couple of potential challenges. One thing they bring up is quantum computing.
Quantum computing.
Yeah, it gets a little technical, but basically imagine a computer so powerful that it could like crack the codes that keep your Bitcoin safe.
Oh, no.
That's the worry with quantum computers, right?
Yeah.
But the expert is careful to point out that, right now this is still like a theoretical thing.
Okay, so I don't need to panic and sell all my Bitcoin today.
No, not at all. I mean, to build a quantum computer that could actually do that, it would be like a massive, massive technological leap. It's not impossible, but it's like probably years or even decades away.
Okay, so it's like a far-off problem.
Yeah.
Something to keep an eye on, maybe.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah, but let's say, just for argument's sake, that quantum computing does become a big issue. Can Bitcoin adapt?
Well, that's the really cool thing about Bitcoin. It's designed to be this kind of adaptable system. The rules are fixed, but they can be changed if the whole community agrees.
Okay.
So, like, if quantum computing did become a serious problem, the Bitcoin community could potentially implement new ways of protecting the network using different encryption and stuff.
So it's like Bitcoin has this, like, built-in defense mechanism. It can evolve, kind of.
Yeah, you could say that. It's designed to survive.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears a little bit. I want to hear about like real world stuff. How are people actually using Bitcoin today? Not just the theoretical future stuff.
Sure.
The presentation mentioned El Zonte, that town in El Salvador that's using Bitcoin for everything, right?
Yes, El Zonte, it's like a perfect real-world example. People there use Bitcoin for everything, like buying groceries, paying their rent.
It's amazing, like a glimpse into the future.
Totally. You could, like, pay for your morning coffee with Bitcoin just like they do in El Zonte.
Okay, I have to visit this place.
Yeah.
But, I mean, how does it actually work? Are there any problems? And what about the price going up and down all the time? That seems like a problem if you're trying to, like, buy groceries, right?
Yeah, those are really good points. And the presentation does talk about how, scaling Bitcoin up to like a whole country, that comes with some challenges.
Mm.
Making sure everyone can access the technology and that they understand how to use it, that's a big deal.
Right.
And yeah, the price volatility is something to think about for sure. But remember, Bitcoin is still a relatively new thing.
That's true.
As more people start using it and the market becomes more established, that volatility could go down.
Okay, so it's like the more people use it, the more stable it becomes.
Exactly. It's like a positive feedback loop.
Interesting. But beyond El Salvador, are there other examples of like Bitcoin actually empowering communities? Because that seems to be something this expert is really passionate about.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They talk about how Bitcoin could give communities a lot more control over their own local economies.
Interesting.
Imagine a bunch of local businesses create their own little Bitcoin network, right?
Yeah.
And they can trade with each other directly. No banks or credit card companies taking a cut.
Wow. Okay.
Or think about communities that, the traditional financial system doesn't really serve them well.
Right.
Bitcoin could give them access to financial services that they wouldn't have otherwise.
So it's like Bitcoin could level the playing field, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. It gives more power to the people. But with all this excitement about Bitcoin, it's important to remember that it's not like a magic solution to all the world's problems, right? And this expert makes sure to talk about the potential downsides too. They caution against, just blindly following the hype.
Yeah, that's
Or
important.
investing more than you can afford to lose. It's really important to do your own research, understand what you're getting into before you jump in headfirst.
Absolutely. Bitcoin isn't a get-rich-quick scheme. It's a powerful tool, but it has its risks. And, it's up to us to use it responsibly.
Totally agree.
But even with those risks, it's hard not to get excited about all the potential,
I know what you mean. It's been quite a journey, this deep dive. We've gone from frozen bank accounts to digital gold to Bitcoin changing the whole world, all in an hour.
Yeah.
But amidst all these big ideas, I think this expert leaves us with a very personal question.
Oh, okay.
To really make us think about how Bitcoin could affect our lives.
Okay, I'm ready. What's the question? Okay, I'm ready. What's the question?
They ask, knowing what you now know about Bitcoin, what role do you think it might play in your future?
Wow. Yeah. That really makes you think, huh? It's like we've been talking about all this big picture stuff, but now it's getting personal.
It is, right. It's not just about understanding Bitcoin, theoretically. It's about what it could actually mean for you, in your everyday life.
Yeah.
So, could Bitcoin help you reach your financial goals? Could it help you connect with, a community of people who are into the same things you are? Could it even, change how you think about money? What money even is?
It really is a lot to process. I mean, we've covered so much ground today. Frozen bank accounts, digital gold, Bitcoin starting a new Cold War. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, it is a lot, right? But that's what makes these deep dives so fun, I think. It's all about starting a conversation, getting people thinking, and hopefully, making them want to learn more.
I agree. I think even if someone listening isn't ready to buy Bitcoin today,
Yeah.
at least this episode has given them a way to think about it, a way to understand this whole new world that's emerging. It's like we're getting a sneak peek at the future, and we all have a chance to be a part of it.
That's a great way to put it. And honestly, we've only just scratched the surface here. There's so much more to learn, so much more to explore. So keep asking questions. Don't be afraid to, question what you think you know.
Keep the conversation going. What really resonated with you from today's deep dive? What are you still wondering about? Share your thoughts. Connect with other people who are interested in this stuff. Who knows, maybe you'll become part of this movement that's changing how we think about money.
I love that. Keep learning, keep exploring. Until next time.
And keep on diving.